The distant hum of spacecraft engines filled the twilight sky above the war-torn planet of Kael'thar. Smoke spiraled from shattered buildings and scorched forests, evidence of the relentless conflict that had engulfed this once peaceful world. I crouched behind a jagged piece of metallic debris, heart hammering, scanning the battlefield for movement. My mission had been simple, or so I thought: recover vital intelligence from the enemy's stronghold. I never imagined I'd end up rescuing a person who would change everything. I'd barely made it halfway across the desolate plains when I saw her. She was lying amid the rubble, her armor scorched and torn, her vibrant silver hair caked with ash and blood. At first glance, I assumed she was a high-ranking officer from the opposing forces, likely a skilled fighter. Her eyes flickered open, a mixture of fear and defiance gleaming through. "Are you alive?" I shouted, waving my hand to signal her. She tried to sit up, wincing in pain. "I think so," she murmured, her voice melodic but firm. Her language was unlike anything I had heard, though I understood the basic meaning thanks to the universal translator embedded in my helmet. "Help me." The battlefield wasn't safe for hesitation. Enemy drones hovered nearby, scanning for survivors, and the distant explosions reminded me that the front line was shifting fast. I darted toward her, pulling her away from the most immediate danger. She was surprisingly light for someone of her stature, and I soon realized she was injured far worse than I first thought. Her leg was badly burned, and her left arm hung limply. "Hold on," I said, pressing a small medkit against her wounds. The synthetic healing gel sizzled as it contacted her skin, sealing minor burns and slowing the bleeding. "I've got you. Just stay still." Her eyes, silver and ethereal, held me for a moment longer than I expected. "Thank you," she whispered, voice barely audible over the distant gunfire. "Name?" "Keelira." "Keelira," I repeated, testing the strange yet regal name. "I'm Jaren. I'll get you out of here." The journey off the battlefield was grueling. I carried her across scorched plains, dodging patrols and collapsing buildings, using every bit of my survival training. As we moved, she whispered fragments of her story. "Keelira was a scout," she said, sent to gather intelligence on a rogue faction that had turned the planet into a war zone. She spoke little of her family or her homeworld, and I didn't press. Survival came first. Hours later, we reached an abandoned transport ship hidden beneath the cliffs. I managed to start the engine and lift off just as the enemy patrols closed in. Once we were safely above the clouds, I finally allowed myself a moment to breathe. Keelira leaned against the wall, her breathing steady but strained. "You're stronger than you look," I said, offering her a small smile. Her lips curved faintly. "You saved me," she replied softly. "Why?" I shrugged. "Because no one deserves to die alone on a battlefield." We flew in silence for a while, the hum of the engines the only sound. But something about her posture, the quiet confidence even in weakness, hinted at a life far removed from this war-torn world. I didn't yet know the truth, but I had a feeling it was monumental. The next day, I found a hidden settlement where Keelira could recover. I built a makeshift bed for her and brought food and water, but she refused to speak about her background. For days, I treated her injuries, sharing stories of my past missions, laughing at the small absurdities of war, and slowly earning her trust. Then, one evening, as the twin suns of Kael'thar dipped below the horizon, she finally spoke. "Jaren, there's something you should know," she said, her tone serious. I noticed her hands trembling as she removed a small, ornate pin from her armor, a symbol I didn't recognize at first, but the moment I saw it, I froze. "That insignia," I whispered. "It's from the royal house of Valoria." Wait, are you? Kilira nodded, silver eyes gleaming with a mix of vulnerability and pride. I'm the princess, Kilira Valoria. I went undercover to gather intelligence on the rebels who've overrun my planet. I never expected to be caught in the middle of the battlefield like this. The revelation stunned me. I had rescued royalty without even knowing it. Every cautious step I'd taken, every risk I'd assumed was just a mission. It had unknowingly saved a princess. I had no idea. I stammered, trying to reconcile the image of the injured, fearful girl with the powerful, regal figure she truly was. Why didn't you tell me? I couldn't risk it, Kilira admitted. If the enemy knew who I was, I would have been their primary target. As the truth settled, I realized that our fight was far from over. The rebels would come after her relentlessly. We had to move, to plan, to strike back before she could be returned safely to her throne. Over the following weeks, we orchestrated a series of daring raids. I acted as her protector, pilot, and strategist, while she revealed her intelligence, her knowledge of the enemy's strongholds and supply lines. Despite her royal upbringing, she was brave, resourceful, and far from the delicate image I had conjured in my mind. Each mission deepened our bond, forging a partnership of mutual respect and something more subtle, unspoken, that neither of us dared name. One night, after a successful mission to liberate a key energy facility, we stood on the edge of a cliff overlooking the ruins of the enemy base. Kilira's injuries had healed, and her eyes reflected the moonlight like twin silver mirrors. Jaren, I couldn't have done any of this without you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to tell her that the feeling was mutual, but the weight of her status kept the words from my lips. You saved me first, she continued, but now you fight beside me. I don't just need protection. I need your courage, your instincts, your heart. Her words sent a shiver down my spine. I wanted to respond, to admit that from the moment I first lifted her from the battlefield, I had felt something I couldn't explain. But before I could speak, the ground trembled beneath our feet. Drones, hundreds of them, descended, cutting off the moonlight with their searchlights. We fought with precision, Kilira wielding her signature energy blade, me providing cover and taking out threats from a distance. The battle was brutal and relentless. Every time a drone fell, another took its place, yet together we were unstoppable. Exhaustion and adrenaline blurred into a singular focus, survival and victory. When the last drone crashed into the mountainside in a shower of sparks, we collapsed against the rocky outcrop. Kilira turned to me, her chest heaving, eyes wide with intensity. You didn't have to save me again, she said, her voice trembling. But you did. Why? This time, I didn't hesitate. I took her hands in mine. Because I don't just fight for you. I fight with you. And I can't imagine my life without you in it. Her silver eyes softened, glimmering with emotion I had never seen before. Slowly, she leaned forward, pressing her forehead against mine. The battlefield, the war, the danger, all of it seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of us in that quiet, starlit moment. The following days were a whirlwind. With the intelligence we had gathered and the combined strength of loyalist forces, Kilira reclaimed her throne. The rebels were driven from power, and Kael'thar began its slow process of healing. Despite the grandeur of the palace, the ceremonial celebrations, and the endless political meetings, Kilira sought me out. You could stay as my protector, she said softly one evening, but I want more than that. I want you by my side, not because you're sworn to me, but because you choose to be. I smiled, feeling a weight lift from my chest. I choose you, Kilira. Every day, I choose you. And so, from the chaos of war, a bond forged in fire and survival became something enduring, a story of courage, loyalty, and love. I had gone to the battlefield thinking I was completing a mission. Instead, I found a princess, a partner, and a reason to believe that even amidst destruction, hope could survive. Kilira looked at me then, eyes reflecting the twin suns of our world, and I knew that whatever battles lay ahead, we would face them together. The battlefield had changed me, had changed us both, but in ways I could never have imagined. For I had rescued her, yes, but in truth, she had saved me too.